Can we just start, Colin, with just a thought
Sure.
on Ike Howard and just seeing him on the ice today, and what can you tell us
Yeah.
that you saw, and what kind of player could we expect him?
I think first of all, just dynamic offensive player, right? And I think today is, there's some information that we gave to him, and I think he handled it well. He asked questions. He seemed excited. I think really is tomorrow, right? Like the first day for everybody, it's you're kind of on your heels a little bit, and you want to be on your toes. And what we tried to do was create some areas that they were bumping and touching each other a lot, and just let them be organic and instinctual, and saw lots of good offensive moments. So explosive, dynamic offensively, and let's enjoy that feeling today, and tomorrow we start some experience, in his first National League rookie tournament with the Oilers.
In your experience with young players, it's a big jump from the NCAA. What does it take to make that jump to the NHL?
It's a really big jump, and I think if we use Matt Savoie as an example last year, right, 20 plus games in the American League, not a lot of offensive production. What we saw was him blocking shots, him playing with two hands and heavy on his stick, withstanding a heavier veteran of 400 or 500 games leaning on him. Saw him understanding when to take risks, and when maybe just to live to fight another day. And that takes time, and everybody develops in different areas. But I would say what we saw with Matt was, become a young man. And then, we saw some strides as the season went on. And that doesn't mean that Isaac is going to go through the same path, but it's a lot different playing against men. And that's why we have to watch with our eyes and see how he does tomorrow and then through camp.
So you're telling us that the AHL kind of makes a pro out of you a little bit.
It sure does, it sure does, and it's always fun. Like wherever you're in the Western Conference, like our division is so hard in the travel, and the same in the American League, right? Like wherever you are, you believe as the coach, like, oh man, our division's really good. The reality is that there are some older players in that conference based on the cities, and it is heavier and it's meaner, and it's harder, and I believe that it's exactly where you want your prospects to be, playing against that type of competition, because there's not a lot of space in the National League, and they need to feel that. So I think that's a great spot to develop.
Look at a player like Szymanski then, who is a pro.
Yeah. The bigger ice surface, in my experience, and I can talk from a player going to Europe, it's a different style, and the surface is not that much larger, but things happen a lot faster. And let's just use Philip Broberg as an example. I have video footage of Philip getting absolutely hammered on forechecks because he wasn't used to it, and a forecheck in generally European hockey isn't as prevalent as it is in North America. However, Josh has played a little bit in the Ontario Hockey League, and the DEL is a little bit more North American style, so let's believe that it's going to be a quicker transition. But in my experience, it's about 4 to 6 weeks of just learning the different small nuances that the North American style. And I think the great part is we know that going in, and we got to be patient, but at the same time try to be effective on our messaging and let him go through those moments.
Going back to Matt Savoie, Chris Knobloch mentioned that he wants him to come up here and kill penalties and be that effective penalty killer. How did he develop that last year? How did you guys go through that?
Keith McCambers did a fantastic job putting him out there, right? And then giving him a penalty kill pair, which was most of the season was Noah Philp. So that consistency of those players, if you look back in the WHL, Matt was not really a penalty killer. He was an offensive guy scoring a lot, and we wanted to embrace that. And when you get called up from Bakersfield, you need to play without the puck because we don't see the top six and that kind of stuff changing that much, or the power play changing that much as far as personnel. So that was the message, that if you want to be able to be effective in the National League, and obviously the communication from Chris down to me and to Keith Gretzky, making sure that Matt got those touches. And I will say that young man embraced it, and one of the real defining moments for me was an early road trip in Calgary. We were losing the game 4-1. The game was over. There's 7 or 8 minutes left, and Matt Savoie laid down in front of a shot, which that was like, okay, wow, he really wants to. He really wants to do the hard things, and that was just a moment that I remember, and he knows that story. So those moments like that, getting the reps, that the player has to meet you halfway. They ought to want to do it, and Matt was a great student, that's for sure.
For young players like Howard and Isaac Howard and Savoie, they're trying to jump on a kind of a fast-moving train here. This isn't a rebuilding team where they have a year or two to feel their way into the league. They have to make an impact on a team that wants to win a cup now. How does that make things more challenging for them, and how does it impact the situation?
Well, I think Chris and the staff does an excellent job of just giving them simple reads. And I'll give you an example. If the D is backing off, let's take the middle. Allow them to be creative, allow them to be offensively, and understanding the decision-making process. So, obviously there's some elite offensive players here, some established players that have been through the grind and the rigors, and I'm sure those guys are helping them along, right? One thing I know for sure is that yes, you want the acceptance of the coaches, but the players see it first. They're feeling it. So, I think with the exhibition season and rookie camp, we'll get to see where they're at, and then from there, really they'll make the decisions. But really, they're dynamic offensive players. That's difficult to teach and takes longer to teach. Playing without the puck and those sorts of things can definitely be more of an effective approach, and I think that's why Stan Bowman and Jeff and the Oilers management has brought in players like Savoie and Howard for that reason.
With those two guys specifically, how are you approaching the next few days before main camp starts? Because they're here, they're offensive players, like you said. They probably want to score and show themselves well at these rookie games. But as the competition ramps up, they're going to have to do more of the little things. So are you trying to kind of instill those little things in them as they try to score here in the next few days?
Yeah, without giving them too much information, right? So from is there a breakout plan? Yes. Is it going to work often? I don't know, to be honest with you, right? Because there's nerves and there's jitters. We try to give them those moments and touches here. Are there some small details? A few, not many, because the more I talk, the more it slows them down. So. We tried to give them 5 or 6 reads today, and Vinny Maltz came in and gave a little bit of a mental performance, really just to say, hey, these feelings are going to be real, right? You're going to be nervous. That nervous energy is a good feeling. Try to embrace it and harness it and be more on the aggressive side. When you have the puck, let's try to keep it. When you have the puck, let's try to find somebody in our team, like really just extending simple messages like that. And let's finish first. Let's win some races. And I think at the end of the day, that's what they did in youth hockey. That's what they did in college hockey. You got to remind them that, because when they're on this stage, there's a lot of things going on, and sometimes it slows them down based on our experience. And it's really just trying to unleash them a little bit. And then really, if it's really bad, we can have some conversations with them. If it's really good, probably not say anything.
Obviously, Tompkins is your starter in the minors, but you don't have a backup yet. Like, you say, he's definitely your backup. How do you look at a Swedish goalie kind of trying to come over to North America where they shoot from all over the place?
Yeah, like that.
Bigger adjustment for a goalie, even perhaps more so.
It is. I remember with Connor Voloff, he got mad at practice when guys were stopping at the net. He got mad at our players, and the goalie coach Sly Rodriguez at the time, he said, "It's hey, like that's okay. That's how we play over here." So that's going to be an adjustment, right? I think the best part is going through this experience. We know that's going to happen, right? So Sal and Kelly and Peter, those guys are on top of that. There's almost as many coaches and development staff as players to give them that one-on-one attention, and he'll definitely get that. And then again, it's just let's see how he does here, right? Let's see how he does here, and once we have some footage and information here in real time, then we'll be able to see what we need to adjust and go from there. But at the same time, there's already a plan in place for what's going to happen in Bakersfield, and you need to be mobile and flexible because you don't know what the performance is going to look like. You can have an idea of it, but you really need to make sure and make sure you pass the eye test.